Hey everybody, it's that time of year. Are you ready for my top 10 reads of 2024? I have that list for you and a life update. So, without further ado, let's get started. Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. How are you doing today? As always, I hope you're happy, I hope you're healthy, I hope you're safe, and of course, I hope you're reading an amazing book or two or three or four. I know, it's been a minute. I haven't been putting up content, but I have a good reason. So, let's start this video with a pretty important life update. Dan and I are getting ready to move. For the first time in my life, I'm getting ready to relocate outside of California. I've taken a job in Portland, Oregon. Dan and I are getting ready to sell our house in Northern California and move to Portland, closer to family, a great opportunity at work, and of course, closer to Powell's bookstore. Can't not have that as an option, right? But as you can imagine, that means a lot is going on around here. We are doing so much to get my house ready to be sold. So content is going to be different in the coming year until we get settled into our new home in Portland. To be honest, I don't know what it's going to look like. It may go old school a little shorter videos just to get some stuff, but I will be reading, I promise. But I still have to share with you my top 10 reads, and I say 10, but it's really 11, because if I'm being honest, I couldn't decide which book to cut. And I want to make sure that each and every one of these books is on your TBR. Or hopefully you've read them already. So without further ado, get out your pen, get out your paper, get out your Goodreads, however you keep track of your TBR. And if you can and are so able, get these books from your local independent bookstore or get your library to get you a copy as soon as possible. Without further ado, at number 11, we have The Most by Jessica Anthony, out from Little Brown. This book was actually brought onto my radar by Ryan of Read by Ryan, you know, my book bestie. But then it was longlisted for the National Book Award, and it's a paperback original, which I just love that it made that list, and hopefully more people read it. This book is just a small day nugget set in 1957. It is really about the dynamics and relationship between a husband and wife. Sort of the premise, if you read the back of the book, is that one day, Kathleen, it's a Sunday, her husband and her children, her two boys, go to church, and she stays home because she's not feeling well, gets in the apartment pool, and doesn't get out. That's sort of like the basic plot premise. What winds up happening is this becomes a dissection of this marriage. The husband, wondering why the wife stays home, has a secret, and now he's afraid that that secret has gotten out. Turns out the wife is not as innocent as the husband thinks. She has the secret, or two or three or four, and she's ready for it all to come out on the table. We learn all about their history as a relationship as a couple, and we learn about how they wound up where they are in this apartment, and we learn all about the secrets that can make a relationship work. So I absolutely adored The Most by Jessica Anthony. If you just want a book that the pages fly, you can read in a couple days, if not a day, highly recommend it. It was fantastic. The next book on the list is my sort of hug for the heart book of the year, and that is Sipsworth by Simon Van, and I'm not sure if this is Booy or Booy. I'm not sure how to say that, so I apologize. And this is out from Godine. And this book, it's just so in my wheelhouse. This is the story of an elderly woman who has returned to her little town in England after living many, many decades abroad. We find out very early that both her husband and her son have passed away. The son tragically, and she's sort of just at the end of her life. One night she hears a noise, goes out to her garbage bin, finds like this animal enclosure, brings it inside, and inside of it is a little mouse, Sipsworth. And it is how this mouse changes this woman's life. It's not only about her relationship with the mouse, as she sort of learns to take care of something again and learns to sort of have communication, but it's about the friendships and relationships that are built because she has to sort of go out of her bubble to learn about taking care of the mouse. And it's about how we all eventually have to move on. and allow ourselves to be happy once again. Sipsworth by Simon von Booy, out from Godine. Love this book so much. I hope you all read it. It is really just a lovely, lovely story. Okay. I apologize. The table that I would normally be working with is gone. So there's a little bit of a funkiness when it comes to this whole video thing. The next book on my list was a book that I was actually quite surprised more people didn't talk about this year, and that's Real Americans by Rachel Khong, out from Knopf here in the United States. This is the story of a family told over 3 generations. It starts around Y2K in New York. We meet Lily. She is an Asian American young woman. Her parents came here from China, and she is an intern, an unpaid intern, trying to make her way. She winds up getting in a relationship with a much wealthier man, and it's about how that relationship changes her life in so many different ways. The next section is told from the point of view of her son. They are no longer in New York. They are in the state of Washington, little tiny town in Washington. The son is like senior in high school, very close to his mother, doesn't know much about his father. I've sort of been led to believe his father wants nothing to do with him. And it's about how that relationship is investigated and what he learns and the decisions that his mom made. It's so good. It's so good. The last section is told from the point of view of Lily's mom. We learn about her and her husband's history in China, the reasons that they came to the Americas, and then the decisions that she made when she was here, and sort of why Lily and her relationship have fallen apart. Y'all, I found, though this book is, I don't know, it's long. It's like 400 pages maybe. It just turns. It's such a good story. The characters are so real. The writing is so next level. I loved this book and wish more people would read Rachel Khong's Real Americans. And again, I think this may be the most beautiful cover I read this year. Okay? The next book on my list, I actually am going to have Dan put a photo up here because I do not have it, is Hombrecito by Santiago Jose Sanchez. It is somewhere in a box. I don't know where it is. But I did love Santiago's book so much that I wanted to make sure that I talked about Hombrecito. And this was a real treat for me because Riverhead actually highlighted me in their monthly or weekly newsletter about this book. And that was a real treat. That was like a bookstagrammer's, booktuber's dream there for a minute. Hombrecito is the story of a young boy. Him and his family are from Colombia. His father is sort of absentee. His mother is a physician, but the relationship has really struggled. So she brings our main character and his brother to America, to Miami. And then she sort of disappears. The book follows him as it's sort of a queer coming of age story. He winds up moving to New York. And it's about the relationships he has with his grandparents, with his mother, his absentee father. Later on in the story, the main character, Santiago's mother, invites him to go back to Colombia and spend some time with family, and also try to repair the relationship that he has with his father. And he learns a lot about his mother and the secrets and everything about where she was and who she was. Absolutely loved this book. It's a debut novel. It is next level good. Hombrecito by Santiago Jose Sanchez, out from Riverhead. Please pick it up. You will not be disappointed. Okay. Speaking of long lists, the next book that is on my list came to me from the Booker long list, and it actually made the short list, and that's The Safekeep by Yalvan de Wouden. This is out in America by Avid Reader Press, and y'all, this book, I think for me, this book is like a psychological post-1960s version of Single White Female in a lot of ways. This is the story of, it's the story of a Dutch family, and the main character is the daughter, Isabel. So Isabel lives at home in the family home. The parents have passed. Her brothers, one is gay and is in a relationship and is sort of always been on the outside looking in, and the other brother has always been like perpetually in relationships with women, but nothing ever turns serious. He brings different women home all the time, and then the next time it's just another one. But one day they go to lunch or dinner, I can't remember which, and Isabel's brother brings a woman to dinner, and then later drops her at the front door of the house and says, I need to leave her with you. I have to travel abroad. And everything changes from there. Isabel is very, very stoic, very icy. She sort of reminded me of, Mrs. Dansworth, is that her name? From Rebecca. I apologize. I'm trying to pull names out of my head, and that's not always a good thing for me. But sort of like that stoic, sort of icy, but you learn that she's got a lot going on, a lot of internal feelings. And as the book goes on, her relationship and Ava, who is the girlfriend's, changes in so many ways. Oh, y'all, you don't see it coming. And then we later learn that there's even a backstory to the house. How Isabel's family got the house during the war, and how Ava is involved. I don't want to give it away because the twists and turns are so good. The dynamic is like palpable. The tension is delectable. I loved this book. It was one of my favorite books that I read this year from that long list, and I cannot tell enough people about The Safekeep by Yale van der Wouden, out from Avid Reader Press here in the United States. Okay, next on my list is, I hadn't read anything by this author in quite some time, and then Random House sent me the ARC, and I started it, and I'm like, I'm not sure. And then they just are so nice to me. They sent me the finished copy, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna sit down and read it, and it blew my mind. And that is Our Evenings by Alan Hollinghurst, out here in the United States from Random House. Many people, if you read the reviews, are calling sort of this Hollinghurst's return to form. You know, he has won the Booker Prize. He's sort of really, really well known. This is one of those, like, one life, a picture of a life of one man and everything that goes on through many, many, many decades. The book ends heartbreaking. I was crying, people. But this is the story of Dave Wynn. He is the son of a Burmese man and an English mother. He does live in the UK. He, as a very young age, gets a scholarship to a boarding school. And the book is a lot about his relationship with this very wealthy family that is sort of, I want to use the word sponsored, but that's not the right word. But they sort of got him where he wants to go as far as education-wise. Their son in real life turns into a very conservative MP. And as adults, they're sort of, Dave and the son are on different spectrums when it comes to the politics of the country. We deal with Brexit, we deal with all of that. And then we go back in time and we learn how Dave Wynn was raised by his mom. We learn about his mom's relationship with not only his father, but also the relationship she develops with another woman. Dave is a gay man, and we learn a lot about his queer coming out, his sort of coming into his gayness. He's an actor. We learn a lot about how he sort of finds his place in the world by being other people for a long time. There's a lot about race and stereotype and all of that. And then there's just a lot about relationships and finding love and finding friends and finding home. And the book is so beautifully written. There is one of the most beautifully written books that I've read this year. And though it's long, it doesn't feel long. Like, the pages turn. It is so beautiful, y'all. Read Our Evenings by Alan Hollinghurst. You will not be disappointed. I promise. I promise. Okay, so now I think, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're into our top 5 here. And I want to say that my top 5 books are going to come as no surprise if you've been watching my channel. It was a great year of books by established authors. Books that just blew my mind. Books that I was so happy to be back in the hands of these masters. One of these books, by the way, isn't out until next year, and it is not by an established author. It's only a sophomore novel, but I read it to finish the year, and it blew my mind. So, without further ado, at number 5, I have Tell Me Everything by Elizabeth Strout, out from Random House. Y'all, when Elizabeth Strout decides to bring the world of Olive Kitteridge and Lucy Barton together, she is not playing. This is set in Maine, just like all of her other books. It's about the relationships between the people of that town. This one focuses on Bob Burgess, who is the attorney friend of Lucy Barton, who we met in Lucy by the Sea, I believe. And you do not have to have read all the books, mind you. This book does stand alone, but it does help to have all the pretext. And they're all so, so good. Now, Bob is a retired lawyer. He winds up getting involved in a criminal case of a woman who went missing and then her body is found. He winds up defending her son. I'll let you get into that as you read the book. Olive and Lucy meet each other. It's like literary gold, y'all. And the town and the people and the dynamics between Lucy and William are still there, and Olive is in sort of like a care home. Her relationship with her best friend is so good. It's just all about people in this small town and all of the connections. I always say Elizabeth Strout is deceptively complex. Her writing is never like super complicated, but the beauty of the words she chooses put together is next level brilliant. I think she's one of America's greatest living writers right now, and one of our greatest living treasures. Tell Me Everything, Elizabeth Strout, out this year from Random House. I adored this book. Random House sent me in a beautiful little box, and it came with paperback copies of the previous novels, and I was so blessed, and I absolutely loved it. So if you haven't read all of Elizabeth Strout, I highly recommend all of the Olive Kitteridge, all of the Lucy Bartons. You will not be disappointed, I promise. Okay, now is the book that I was telling you about that I just finished. It was my final read of 2024, and I cannot get it out of my head. And that is Universality by Natasha Brown. This is coming out from Random House, but it does not come out until March 4th of next year. I've already started to dabble into 2025 reading. And when this book came in, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to read a couple pages. And then I'll put it in a stack and I'll read it in the new year. I'll read it once I move. But once I started reading it, I could not put this book down. Now, Natasha Brown is known. She wrote a book called Assembly that came out a few years ago that was everywhere. She writes these short, power, punchy novels. This book starts as an exercise in journalism. A journalist is investigating an event that occurred on this commune, on this farm in this rural part of England. A man was bludgeoned, and I use that term in quotes for a reason, and if you read the book, with a bar of gold. And the man that did it has run away, and the journalist is investigating the story of it all. Once we sort of get that story, we dive into different people that are involved in that story in the coming sections. We get the life story and the current story for the journalist herself, how it came to be where she was when she got this break and all of that. We get the story of the gentleman who owned the gold bar and the farm and how all of this has changed. We get the story of Lenny, who is the mother of the young man who did the act. And she is sort of a sensationalist conservative writer, writing some, it's mind-blowing, you all. And it all comes together. But what this book is really about is the power of words, the power of language. This is an advanced copy, so I'm not allowed to quote from it until the finalized copy. But it just, the way I sort of wrote about it on Instagram, it's how words can be used as weapons, words can be used as tools, words can be used as money. But all of them can make one word, and the words we choose have such different value. I don't think this book is going to be for everyone. I do think that it is a little bit avant-garde in style and a little avant-garde in sort of what it's trying to do. But it is a piece of think work, y'all. And the characters are interesting and diabolical at times, and just the sort of like the overall sophistication and cleverness of what Natasha Brown does in this little tiny book is next level to me. So that is Universality by Natasha Brown, out on March 4th, 2025 from Random House. Okay. Now we are into my top three, which is interesting because these are three of my favorite writers. And these books all changed in the top three, depending on when you asked me. But first but foremost, at number 3, we have Sally Rooney's Intermezzo, out from FSG. I love Sally Rooney so much. I know she doesn't speak to everyone. She speaks to me. All of her books are brilliant. All of her books are powerful to me. I absolutely love her so much. This is the story of 2 brothers, Ivan and Peter. Their father has just passed. The funeral has just occurred. Peter is in the world of academia and I think law, and he's having sort of 2 relationships. One with a woman that he had a relationship with in the past, who is clearly sort of like the love of his life, but has an illness that makes it impossible for the relationship to be what I think either of them would like it to be. And then also he's having a relationship with Naomi, who is much younger than he, a student, and it's all about the complications he's having, sort of figuring out what he wants in life, the sort of embarrassment he has of dating this younger woman, which is really self-induced. It's about the complication of the relationship he has with the woman he loves and can't have. And then we have Ivan, who is a chess champion, not champion, but a chess player, a professional chess player, who meets an older woman in a small town when he goes to do sort of an exhibition and starts a relationship. She's going through a divorce. She's not quite ready. She's older than him. The dynamics, the social, it's a lot about the social dynamics of between men and women, and sort of how men dating younger women perceived one way, older women dating younger men perceived another way. It's really about finding people that understand you and how you use that to move on and move through your grief. Sally Rooney writes like no other. I'm sorry. I think that she is one of the most brilliant writers right now, and I adored Intermezzo, Sally Rooney, FSG. Loved that book. I will talk about it forever. Okay. At number 2, I have Small Rain by Garth Greenwell. This is also out by FSG. This, to me, so far, is Garth Greenwell's masterpiece. It is so well done. Garth is a dense writer. I'm no jokes about it, y'all. His pages are filled with words, but you never feel that when you read the poetry of his language. This is the story of a man, a writer, a poet, who one day wakes up with an immense pain and winds up in the hospital, and they don't know what's wrong with him. And he is there for some time. It's during COVID. It's a scary time. And this is really an introspection on our health. As we get older and our bodies revolt against us, what do we do with that? How do we deal with that? But also at its heart, it's the story of a relationship between a man and his husband. The support you need to get through things like this, utter love. Their relationship is quirky and poetically beautiful and everything. But it's really about the healthcare system, about dealing with these sort of things, the fear of your own lack of immortality, all told from the beautiful mind of Garth Greenwell. It is so good. He always sort of has this autobiographical aspect to everything he writes, but it just gives it such a place of home. And his writing is just next level. So Small Rain, Garth Greenwell, FSG, y'all, it is worth your time. It's also an amazing audiobook, just so you know. I said, by the way, when I read this book, that's my number 1 read of the year, when I read it, I said it would be my number 1 read of the year, and that was at the beginning of the year. And I don't really need to say much about it because it's won all these awards. It has done everything, but just a moment to recognize that James by Percival Everett, out by Doubleday here in the United States, is a new American literary masterpiece. It is next level brilliant. A reimagining, a retelling of the Huck Finn story from the point of view of James the slave. This book flips the script on the idea of this slavery in and of itself. It gives agency to James and the decisions he makes throughout the novel. And it is just so powerful, and it's just, y'all, it is next level brilliant. It is an American masterpiece. Trust me, just read it if you haven't. It won the National Book Award. It was a finalist for the Booker. My money's on it to win the Pulitzer, to be honest. I think he will be a double winner. I just don't think it goes without saying that James is one of the best books put out in a long time. So, that is my top 10 and my life update. So I will be updating you as we keep going along. Wish me well. Portland, I've never not lived in California my whole entire life. I've never done the whole sell your house, buy a house thing. So send us all the good vibes if you can. As always, if you are a return subscriber, thank you so, so much. If you are new to my channel, I hope that you click the subscribe button and come on this journey with me. As always, I encourage you to read globally, shop locally, and until next time, I wish you happy reading. Bye, everyone.